Boy, it's very subtle that you have a new book you're promoting. One could easily miss it.
I was afraid it would not be noticeable enough. I was hoping they might blow it up a little bit more. I appreciate the call out.
It wasn't me calling it out. It called itself out.
As it should.
But it's, yes. Well, we got a lot to talk about today. I think, fresh in the news, Antony Blinken just got back from a long-delayed trip to China. How do you think that has impacted U.S.-China relations?
Well, I think the trip was clearly a stunning success on all levels. I mean,
absolutely.
I thought it was wonderful the way Xi Jinping agreed to demilitarize the Taiwan Strait area, to deactivate their spy balloon program, and to remove all PLA forces, future, present, past, from Cuba. I mean, I just thought it was a win.
Yeah. I mean, what surprised me was when he said he would, demilitarize the artificial islands in the South China Sea and give them to orphans.
Yes, and open up all the concentration camps in Xinjiang and Tibet and give those provinces true autonomy on the road to statehood.
Well, he needs to do that because he's also promised, of course, to democratize China.
And is not about time. I mean, the Communist Party's been talking about self-determination for a long time. I think this is the perfect opportunity for them to actually realize true popular sovereignty and self-determination for all the people of China to have a voice.
So the trip was a real win, is what you're saying.
A real win across the board. It's so good to see that China's no longer attempting to expand outward across the region or export its totalitarian model of governance. It's a win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when Biden came to office and he promised relentless diplomacy, I mean, we really saw it. We saw what happened. They put the screws on, got what they want.
Relentless and persistent too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key to Blinken's recent success in China is, really just offering up everything and asking for absolutely nothing in return.
Very bold, brave, courageous even. But sometimes stuff like that works. I mean, oftentimes, I think if there's anything that history shows us, it's that these kind of authoritarian regimes the appetite for them does not grow with the eating. That you can appease them, you can give them a little bit here, there, and they won't ask for more.
The best way to stand up to a bully is to give them what they want.
Yeah, and they won't come back again tomorrow. I mean, I think that's scientific fact at this point, well established. The research data is almost overwhelming.
Well, thank you for watching China Unscripted. I guess we have nothing more to talk about.
It's probably our last episode then, if everything's wrapping up so nicely.
Oh no! Does that mean Shelley will be released from the PLA base?
Perhaps the soldiers will be released.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But I am slightly worried that there might be some viewers or listeners who have missed the subtext of this.
It does seem possible that we've been a little too indirect. That's possible.
Yeah. So for the general background, for anyone who missed the subtext, this trip was it was agreed upon last year when Biden and Xi met in Bali. But obviously, even though they were very eager to do this trip, once, the Chinese spy balloon floated across the entire continental United States and became they tried to cover it up, but after a big public backlash, they kind of had to cancel the trip or postpone it because they really wanted to go on that trip. It's been amazing seeing how China is able to manipulate the desire for diplomacy because they have completely cut off U.S. access to Chinese officials. And we have just seen the Biden administration really seem to bend over backwards to do anything it takes to get that connection with the CCP again.
Yeah, I think they're in all seriousness, I think they have been very concerned by a lot of the things that they're seeing Xi Jinping do. And maybe one of the takeaways from the Russian invasion of Ukraine last year is that sometimes dictators and one party dictatorships don't always have a very clear, rational, well informed view of the world, that they oftentimes almost certainly live inside of a bubble. They're surrounded by sycophantic yes men. And so they make terrible miscalculations. I mean, that's certainly what Putin did, right? And it does seem to be the path that Xi Jinping is on as well. And so what I suspect, and I don't know this is just me guessing, is I suspect folks in the Biden White House were very concerned that Xi Jinping was going to make a similar mistake, both for China and for us and for the entire world, by actually attacking Taiwan or by doing something else that could be catastrophic. And they seem to be convinced that they can talk him down, that as long as our president speaks with him, Xi Jinping, and as long as we have these high level communication mechanisms in place, that can somehow we can deter them through the force of our diplomacy or our rhetoric, or at least ensure that Xi Jinping is getting an alternative view. But clearly, that does not seem to be effective. I mean, obviously, for all the sarcasm aside, it is remarkable how little the trip actually achieved and how much they were willing to give in order to get that audience in the first place.
So what did the U.S. give to get this meeting with Xi Jinping?
Well, I think it's been a constant stream of downplaying the threat that the Chinese Communist Party poses to us. An example would be when the spy balloon showed up over, was it Montana or North Dakota, and the administration played down the espionage threat that it represented. And then that continued throughout the spy balloon's journey across the United States. And then even after they shot it down, they did not release the FBI's report on the fact that the spy balloon was active. It was communicating with Beijing the entire time. It did pose a tremendous intelligence challenge. And basically what that report did is it refuted the messaging of the White House and the Pentagon. And then when that report was released, they released it on a Friday, late in the day, so they could bury it, get it out of the news cycle. So that's one example of the U.S. government, I think, for the sake of diplomacy, trying to constantly downplay some of this bad behavior that the CCP has been engaged in. I think with the hopes that by doing that, by giving a little bit, then they'll get something in return diplomatically. But obviously that has not happened. In fact, it appears to be the case that Beijing views that as a sign of weakness, and that just kind of whets their appetite even more.
Yeah, you saw how Blinken was positioned at a table at a meeting with Xi Jinping, obviously in like a supplicating kind of position. I think the other big thing that needs to be mentioned, though, is that, I think it was back in March, Biden signed into law that he would reveal the investigation into the origins of COVID within 90 days. And that was this past week when Blinken was in China. And he did not do it. He basically broke a law he signed into law. Seems a little suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, this is a trend that I think it's been a problem for the U.S. government, not just this particular administration. This has been a problem throughout our entire history of diplomacy with the People's Republic of China, where we constantly think we have an agreement, maybe a tacit agreement, maybe something more concrete, and then they backslide and they don't honor the agreement, whether it's China's entrance into the WTO, most favored trade status, whatever the arrangement is, whether it was the joint communiques, all the agreements that took place around those, and then the CCP backslides, and we're constantly surprised by how brazen the backsliding is. And I think we've gotten ourselves into this unhealthy relationship, and this unhealthy cycle of kind of being the ardent suitor that we're trying to maintain communication, we're trying to maintain some levels of cooperation, but we're trying to do it with a genocidal regime. And it's never been the policy that I'm aware of our country to pursue cooperation with genocidal regimes that are deeply anti-American and that we could find ourselves in conflict with. I mean, can you imagine trying to do that with the former Soviet Union or with Nazi Germany or Imperial Japan? I find that difficult to imagine, but here we are.